Today's video is provided by our good friends at Famous Faces and Funnies, located in Melbourne, Florida. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, our friends at Docking Bay 94, located in Boca Raton, Florida. Check us out on comicsandgames.com. October 10th, 1991 is probably a day that will change many things in the landscape of comic books, pop culture, movies, and I'll go more into detail about that later. On that day, the godfather of X-Men comics books, Chris Claremont, and all-star up-and-coming rock star artist Jim Lee teamed together to unleash X-Men #1. Not Uncanny X-Men, just regular X-Men. To much anticipation. For those that can't remember, this was at the zenith of the X-Men's hold on mainstream. Popularity thanks to the cartoon show that aired on Fox TV was at an all-time high. Everybody was crazy for X-Men. Claremont was the author behind some of the most iconic X-Men storylines, including the Dark Phoenix saga, which Hollywood continues to butcher, as evidenced from the recent X-Men movie that came out. Teaming up with Jim Lee, who at the time, along with Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, was one of the hottest upcoming talents in comic books. This issue would have such a big impact on the comic industry, rocking in at 7.1 million copies sold and 5 cover variants. People were encouraged to buy all 5 cover variants because they would unfold this panoramic piece of artwork that I have on that you see on the screen. This issue was so big that would go on to be the #1 selling comic of all time. That is an significant impact. Even people that weren't interested in comics or whatever were looking for the nearest comic store so they could get an issue, thinking that this will one day be worth something, which ironically, today you could pick up one for like $8. But they would buy this thinking that it would pay for their kids' college tuition, just like the death of Superman. 28 years later, X-Men #1 hits the store shelves in 2019. Obviously, it cannot live up to its predecessor's impact, but it's worth taking a look at this one just for the pure enjoyment. So here we go. And at the end, I want to talk about a few things on how I think that first X-Men is having an impact to what retro blasting was talking about and the movies and Star Wars and everything. And I think you could trace it back to this issue. It's difficult for me to say this, but this book was really difficult to read through. I mean, I had to read it like 3-4 times, and I'm still clueless as to what the hell is going on. And issue 1 shouldn't be this difficult to read. It's supposed to, encourage the reader to continue on, but this book, I don't understand what characters are coming from, who they are, what they're about. It just seems like the world of X-Men that we once knew is nowhere to be found in this issue. I'm going to recap the best I can and just give a basic overview in case some of you would like to experience this nonsense for yourself. You guys that have been following me know that I've been bringing out books that haven't been really Marvel or DC related. They've been like Dynamite and IDW with G.I. Joe, Elvira, fun stuff that is engaging that I think would suit the Gen Xer that's returning to comics. This is a perfect example why I'm disappointed in current Marvel. It's a clusterfuck in the sense that it's trying too hard and it's just making things so complicated and not enticing viewership. The book is going to begin and end with the metaphor for sight, and we have a flashback here of Cyclops and Professor Xavier when he's been given those special glasses for the first time. You know that Cyclops is terrified to open his eyes because he doesn't want to hurt anyone. Xavier is kind of saying, you need to open your eyes because you're actually going to, by seeing everything, you'll be able to help more people than harm. So it's kind of like a metaphor. And I'll show that the bad guy has a different reflection of this notion because he is blind and he sees things in infrared and ultraviolet. So the best way is Hitler. Hitler saw himself as a savior and someone doing right for the Aryan race. Well, that's how this Dr. Mars is. So I guess the physical, actual seeing and the third eye type of seeing things and your perspective on the world and what you have for yourself. So those are the notions that are behind this book. So after that flashback, we are brought to present day with both Storm and Cyclops invading a Orcus stronghold. Now, Orcus is the main protagonist in this storyline. Supposedly, they're a group of these renegade scientists, former personnel of S.H.I.E.L.D., AIM, Armor, Alpha Flight, and even Hammer and Hydra all compile these, are all part of this group. Now, I think we've heard this story before, but they feel that they are the last stand or crusaders against mutant and mutant kind. So they are trying to preserve humanity versus the mutant. Again, it seems like this is a retelling, but just with different people. So Storm and Cyclops' objective and why they're here infiltrating this base is that they're trying to extract these children that are being held in the Orcus facility that they know about. A lot of them are mutants, and I think there's one metahuman that's amongst them that they'll discover in this issue. She disappears, so I guess there's going to be something more with that character in later issues. But they're able to do quickly away with the first level of defenders, which seems to be upgraded sentinels. And out of nowhere, Magneto joins them. So they're in league with Magneto, which as us old school X-Men fans are kind of shocked to see him being buddy-buddy with Cyclops. Well, the reason for that is that Cyclops is with his daughter, Polaris. So there's a relationship that they have, and in essence, it seems that Magneto is his father-in-law. So the guys stumble upon, along with Polaris, they find the tubes where all of the children are kept, and they're able to free these kids. They promise these that they'll be taken to the island known as Krakoa, a mutant nation island. The children are brought there for medical treatment and to get examination, and they are assured that this is a safe place for them. And the X-Men are primarily in charge with protecting this island for anyone who wishes to do harm, be it human or mutant or anyone. So that's their primary objective, is to protect this peaceful island from any danger. Magneto is revered in this island. He's like the wise old grandpa that promises to protect the kids and says that no one will ever hurt them here, and I do all the fighting so you don't have to. So basically the kids adore him. So along with what Cyclops physically sees the world as and what he internally wishes to see the world become, he also has to see what he wants for himself as a man, in the sense of, every guy wants to have, family life, kids, love, all that stuff, place to live. So that's also part of his, I guess, vision. And, we see him going back to his house and how he has picked out a place with the view, which is this orbiting moon. And he's able to have a nice view. And it goes into his family dynamics. I'm stumbling here because this is goddamn boring. And I don't know if you want to get the issue and read all of this stuff. And I don't even know if Jean Grey is there. There's like two panels of Wolverine and then like eating steak, and that's about it. So the face of the franchise, Wolverine, appears in like two tiny panels in this issue number one. That's discouraging. And we go back to the bad guys, and we found out that during the infiltration, many of the Orcus's scientists committed suicide, or they turned into these gigantic apes. However, Dr. Mars was able to escape, and he rendezvous at their, I guess, floating base. One of the things is that they were trying to keep the X-Men from this data, or they had some secret plan or some secret weapon that would eliminate all the mutants. Again, have we heard this before in X-Men lore? Yes. So that's the synopsis of him, and I guess like he returned as like, again, the vision of like Hitler and all Saddam. That's basically what this guy is like. He is all of those rolled into this storyline. So the issue ends with that. Thank God. So we're going to look at X-Men number 1, 1991, and why I believe it has had more of an impact than you might think. That's what's currently going on in media, whether it be movies, comics, and so on and so forth. Here's where I think X-Men number 1, Death of Superman, and Spawn number 1 has affected what's currently going on. It's like in Star Wars and stuff like that. In the sense that everybody and their mother took this as a national event. In the sense that people were going out that had no business buying comics, that didn't care about the characters, were going out and picking up multiple copies of these as a monetary investment. Ironically, that investment decreased in value with the surplus of people purchasing them. So it had an adverse effect on the overall product in itself because so many people were getting them and they're not that scarce. X-Men number 1 and Death of Superman will never hit triple digits. So I'm sorry to tell people that are still holding on, hoping that they're going to get rich someday. It's been, 20 plus years, so that thing is out the window. And I believe that executives saw this and be like, oh, okay, this is what we need to do. Our product needs to appeal to everyone, even those that are not interested in it. And you see that happening in the current Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies, is that this product is trying to appease everyone. So whether it's your mom, your grandma, it's just weird like that. But the thing that these stupid executives don't understand is the product came out first and the interest came from that. They're not making the product in hopes of getting that interest. So when you start off with that, oh, we need to do something so everyone likes it, it's going to affect the quality of the product. In a recent video of Retro Blasting, he stated that the directors are letting the fan base down. And that's because these executives are picking these directors that have that goal in mind. That goal of getting everyone's dollar. Not the fan, not the diehard, not the person that grew up with this particular entity. But they want to get, the mailman's dollar. They want to get the, the grocery person's dollar, your dollar, everyone's dollar. And that has had an adverse effect. Whether making a quality product and a storyline that is true to that particular entity. That's why in my comic reviews, I highlight the Elviras, the Betty Pages, the G.I. Joes, because I feel that they're not trying to appease this, this wide demographic. That these writers, David Avalone, Jim Balin, some of these guys that I pointed out in earlier episodes, are trying to write for that character and that fan base. To hell with everybody else, because not everybody else is going to like this. And that's why I salute them. I think, in reflecting back, I think X-Men #1 and the death of Superman has kind of screwed things up going forward. This video is long enough, but I wanted to throw that out there and let me know what you guys think. I mean, do you guys feel that X-Men #1 from 91, Death of Superman, has had an adverse effect in what we're seeing and experiencing currently in all these superhero movies and Star Wars, as far as trying to appease a bigger everyone demographic versus finding that niche and making the best quality product that is doing justice to that entity? Well, this is Shabu Argue signing off.